Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Poseidon Magna, your host of the new podcast, Difficulty Level Indie. Yes, that's right. I started my own podcast. Production quality level, millions spent, nothing was held back. This costs as much as an Avengers movie. On this podcast, what I really want to start talking about are going to be the real struggles behind indie game development. Of course, some people know, like, obviously, everyone wants to be a solo dev, everybody wants to be a studio, everybody wants to do all the things, but it's just super, super hard no matter what the circumstance is. The reason this brought about is that this game that I was following for a long time called ALZARA Radiant Echoes, the studio by Studio Camellia, they were dissolved today in the past 24 hours. And it was rough because this game made over $300,000 from a Kickstarter. And a year later, they didn't even make it to the demo. So yeah, we're going to dive into, the hardest things, which is talking about when your Kickstarter succeeds, but your game doesn't. What do you do with the money? What happened to the money? And why no game? A lot of people don't know what Kickstarters are. So Kickstarters are, it's a website. It's supposed to be the golden ticket for indie devs. And a lot of times it's really hard to put together a solid proposal to influence other people to buy your product that's not available yet, right? So, no publishers, no middlemen, just straight up fan funding creativity. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't get fully funded. And, with things like Kickstarter, it's either all or nothing. But when they do get kickstarted, then it's now on the creators to think about the second part, which is how are we going to deliver all of these things, the rewards, the merch, and the video game within whatever time frame they've set for themselves. I want to say about 38% of video game projects probably on Kickstarter actually deliver what they promise, and some fall apart completely. So like I was saying, ALZARA just crushed. I am crushed. This game was so beautiful, is so beautiful, that had a Mediterranean kicker to it. So you're talking just beautiful oceanic backgrounds, vivid buildings and lightings, and character design. This is my first Kickstarter. Usually I know some people are like, oh, let's bring up the video. And they bloop, bloop, pop it up. Let's see if I can get this popped up here for us. Let's take a look at ALZARA. Let's go back and look at the reveal trailer. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trailer. Let's now look at the video that they released after they went under. This is the demo that they were supposed to show to everyone. So yeah, that was ALZARA. Such a beautiful game. Such a beautiful game. Cannot believe that the studio got shut down. I am legitimately heartbroken. I backed them on a Kickstarter and they made over $300,000. And as a indie studio, if I made a portion of that type of money, we would be rolling in it, rolling in the dough. We would have our game developed and everything would be kosher, cushy, cushy, cushy. So I've been in the discords with the creators, the CEO, I think her name is Emma, and they can't really talk about anything because apparently it's tied up in a lot of legal stuff. So it looked very promising. So they had a few delays, very normal in the gaming industry. I'd rather you delay and deliver than under deliver or just not deliver at all. And, apparently they had some team struggles and the project was ultimately canceled. A lot of people in the Kickstarters and the Discords are just furious. This is unfortunately very common with a lot of different Kickstarters. So, there's another one that a friend showed me, a Frog's Tale, I think it's called. I did the exact same thing. They fairly succeeded over their goal. And they didn't deliver the game because apparently they only made it for a demo. So, other than like the scope being too large for what they asked for, because they originally only asked for $100,000, 100,000 euros. They asked for 100,000 euros, they made 300,000 euros, which is 3 times more than what they asked. You would think that it'd be like, oh, okay, with 3 times more than you asked, you should get it done faster and, it should be completed. Apparently, that was for a demo. So, you got 3 times more than you asked for the demo. Well, apparently they can't release the demo. Apparently they have a demo, but they can't release it because of legal issues, which is totally fine. I'm not trying to get anybody thrown in jail over a video game or half a video game. Now, obviously everyone's screaming, fraud and people are, you ran away with the money. Like, that's not true. So hopefully that we'll actually be able to get some of the developers onto the podcast in the near future, kind of talk about what happened and what things look like for them futuristically. So definitely something we'll put on the chalkboard there. It's 100% mismanagement, I think, because you don't produce something of that quality and just run away with the money or, something. I don't think anything was shady. I think it was purely mismanagement because unlike what most people do in Kickstarters who unfulfill, they just run away and never talk to anybody again. And we will go over a Kickstarter like that soon enough. Now, why this happens are for a lot of different things. It could be scope creep. Scope creep is when you have an idea in a box and that is your video game. You know that you can fulfill what's in that box. But as you start to fill up that box, you're like, ooh, but the box would be better if it had this, and it gets a little bit bigger. And you're like, ooh, but once I get that, then I'm going to need a little bit of this. And now you have this huge box from the original plan, and there's no way that you can fulfill that by yourself or with a small indie dev team with limited funds. That's called scope creep because it creeps upon you slowly, thinking that you have all this money and time, and you don't. And then the project slowly fails, which is the worst thing, especially as you're getting older, because unless you're in your young teens or mid-20s creating games, if you're in your 30s, like most game developers that I know, you don't have time to deal with scope creep. Most of us have families, and if a slowly failing project could be the end of your indie game career. Next, we will talk about underestimating the budget, which goes right along with mismanagement and not thinking about all like the merch that you have to talk about, paying the artist, paying the developer, any setbacks, your computer might fail. You got to buy a new computer, your graphics card burnt out. These things happen. So underestimating budget is definitely another thing. Burnout, the emotional toll of trying to put together a game. It is emotional. I have 2 Kickstarters that I've been working on for 5 months and I haven't even started marketing them yet. So it's definitely something that can weigh heavily on your mind and it's got to get done. You got to do it. So those are a few reasons of why these type of things happened, as far as unfulfilled Kickstarters. Now, if you are someone who's looking to get into indie games or you already have an indie game that you're working on, or a manga or a comic book, which are smaller. The smaller the scope, the better. If you're going to get, build up that successful Kickstarter. If you've ever started that, you should share your own doubts and your own fears about funding. Talk to people, ask them what they did to be successful and to manage to deliver that product. Like, I don't blame devs who fail. Making a game is hard, but making games in public with hundreds of people with their money, that's rough. Like, it's easy to make a game in your bedroom by yourself. I even have on my older website a free preview of the first chapter of my manga, and it was hard. It was hard. Like, releasing that took a long time. I started creating manga 2020 when COVID hit. Ultimately wanted to get into animation and video games, and the only way to start is to have something, to have a basis of background. So I started creating characters, and I took those characters and I gave them a story. And I took that and I started drawing them. I had people help me draw them. I made it into a comic book. Started selling that comic book at different conventions, which got me enough money to buy a new computer. That new computer now allows me to be a game developer. But I did that all on my own time versus using somebody else's time for Kickstarter, which when you do that, you must deliver. Otherwise, it will get you banished or something even worse. Internet people are crazy. But yeah, outside of that, let's see if we can find. So there's a very popular Kickstarter by a very popular and famous creator that we're going to look up. Cannon Busters. Cannon Busters was a Netflix show. If you're on Netflix, you're a big deal. So it was pretty good. I liked Cannon Busters. Let's take a peek. 8 minutes, Make Stuff LLC. We're not going to watch the whole 8 minutes. Oh my God, that is loud. But as you can see, so this Kickstarter was for the animated pilot. Asked for $120,000 and made $156,000. Not large overshooting, but they fulfilled their project. Problem here with this Kickstarter is that since it was picked up by Netflix, the show was completed. So technically we got the show, which was the thing. But then the back end was all of these are the prizes and things that you can buy from Kickstarter. So like, you can get a digital download of Cannon Busters with Making of Cannon Busters featurette. We go further down, you're getting DVDs and long shots and shipping, there's all of packages, t-shirt packages. You're getting all these things from backing it for more and more money. One person spent $1,000 for an illustration print by mecha designer LaShawn Thomas, that's his name. Includes prism lays, like all of these cool things. Like, they sound cool. You spend money on them. But then you go to the updates and you go to the comments and it's terror. It's May 2025 and still no rewards whatsoever apart from a code for the pilot. I will never watch anything made by LaShawn Thomas. As far as I'm concerned, he's a thief and a liar. Now, that's pretty harsh. But who knows? Maybe that's the one person that spent $1,000. LaShawn Thomas was also the creative mind behind Yasuke, the anime, also picked up by Netflix. So it's not like they aren't receiving any money offshore. This was LaShawn Thomas and Nick Jones, and it even had Lakeith Stanfield in it, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy. And the show was, I don't know how he had a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. That is insane. He got a 6.2 and a 6 on IGN, which is wild because it was bad. I'll probably give it another chance. We'll see. 3.4. Yeah, people did not like this. And this was also by Yasuke. I don't think there was a Kickstarter for it, though. They probably didn't need it after getting that first Netflix deal. But with Cannon Busters, hundreds of comments about not receiving their rewards from backing that. He gave us just enough that reporting him for not receiving goods wouldn't be an issue anymore, then vanished. That's pretty intense. You just enough, like, what? I never got a single thing. Never received my copy either, nothing at all. And I just bought a secondhand copy of the anime on Blu-ray from someone on eBay. Tragic. I only came back here to see if there's any update. I mean, man, the NDA is somehow extended since he hasn't said anything. We're nothing but a side hustle for a passion project. Even back then, I thought it was pretty odd to make a crowdfunding, even though you have a good lengthy resume and huge international work, which he does. He's like, the guy's got a background. But then me being a gullible fan, I'm just helping out who probably was struggling behind the scenes. It's crazy. So many people, hundreds, and how many? Let's see how many. Over 2,000 backers feel gypped because they didn't receive the rewards from the actual Kickstarter. So this is another pitfall that can happen. What happened to this money here? Did it all go to the show? Why did they offer all of these things and not deliver them to a single person? Some things we will never know. We will have to find out. So, what can be done better for developers in the indie game industry, animation industry? Kickstarter is a big thing. Start small. Overfunding is dangerous. So, definitely something, like I said before, a manga, very short, couple page, 20 to 30 pages, or a volume if you want to work on a bigger volume, has a small scope that 1 to 3 to 5 people can complete. Build playable prototypes before asking for money. That is something that just makes sense, right? Like, don't get money to build the prototype, build the prototype to make the money. Don't do it backwards. Otherwise, you'll end up like ALZARA. Or there's another example, Frog's Tail. We can even look at that in just a few. Transparent updates, even if it's bad. My computer fell into a river. The graphics card burnt out. Airplane hit my grandmother's foot. Just tell people, be transparent, because that's what they want to hear. They want to know where their money is going and how are you spending it. Discord, huge. Easily the biggest tool to any developer's progress. That way you can stay in contact with everybody, let them know exactly what happens when it happens, and everything will just be smoother. Understand that the money isn't a salary, it's a promise. You promise that you're going to reinvest all of that money that you've collected from these loyal followers and put it back into the project, make sure they get what they asked for, and you deliver it. It doesn't matter if it's a little early. Always, my motto is under promise, over deliver. That is the goal, in my opinion, for Kickstarters. Never be like, oh, you're gonna get all this stuff, like start small. Think about if whoever you're working with, if you're working with someone on a Kickstarter, that they might fall out or they don't have as much passion about your project than you, then and they all back off. Can you do this yourself? If you can do this yourself, then you will be within a good scope. I mean, that's the gist of it. It's rough. It's rough out here. We can take a look at one more Kickstarter. There she goes. All right. So here we have a Frog's Tale, a beautiful, quirky looking game. Now, the problem with this game, what happened? Asked for 60K. They made their 108K, so almost double what they asked. The problem in the beginning was, which I will let you know they changed it, because when I saw it, I didn't even back this project, but when I saw it, it did not say demo development. It just said a Frog's Tale. Now they've added demo development because that's what they did. They took the money, this 108K, to build a demo. They did it backwards. Build the demo to get the money to finish the game. That's what you do. Let's take a look. Yeah. So that is a frog sale. They did the same thing, did not deliver the game. They took the money to make the demo. And the creator tried to say that. He said before that it was only for a demo, which everyone said that. No, it wasn't. There are over 100 comments that are like, what happened? Like, never got the game. 9 days ago. Hi, it's been a year since the last update. Any news on how it's going? So it's been a year since any kind of update. Did this game go under? And he pretty much did exactly what ALZARA did, where they got this money and still needed money from a partner, which they did not get, which caused them to ultimately not be able to deliver this game. But yeah, that is the gist of kind of things how go on a Kickstarter. So if you have any thoughts, please let me know in the comments. This is my first podcast, so we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that go into indie devs and Kickstarters. I have a Kickstarter myself, like I said, that I will be putting out. You can check out the updates on Mavros Prime on IG, or go to the website mavrosprime.com, where you can see some of the things that I'm working on, manga stuff, and even the anime adaptation that I'm also working on. We're doing a lot over here, but we're not asking for people's money to do it. That's the huge part. Have you ever backed a Kickstarter that failed to deliver? We want to know, because we want to know what people think is how you avoid that failure, that pitfall, or what the community thinks that we could do better to communicate and connect with our supporters to fulfill the Kickstarters and things that they might want. I don't know. I think that's all I got for today. So, follow the socials. They should be on the Twitch. This will be on YouTube later. Let me know what you think. If you have any helpful hints, I would love to hear them, as this is just the beginning of my podcast. All right. It's been Poseidon Magna. Next time, should you quit your job? Probably not. We'll see you later.